Welcome to Guthli Talks, presented by Miles SoBA, your backstage pass to the creative circus of branding and advertising. And today we are joined by a man who was a former rock star turned music maestro, the man himself, Subhajit Mukherjee. So when it comes to music, to what extent do you consider the psychological aspect?
Sense of, melodic structure which people can hum or at least they can recall easily.
One thing I wanted to talk to you about, because this is a campaign that I loved a lot, which is Excite campaign. Sort of bagged every single award out there. What did you do differently for that, and how was your approach to that?
My idea was like, let's create a track which will have, influences of each and every state which were definitely depicted on the film.
Yep.
There should be a common link. So that was the entire idea, to make like, like a Mile Sur Mera Tumhara, but from the Excite's point of view.
Makes sense.
I do first what I feel is correct. I don't think about what the brand wants or what the director wants or what the film wants and what I want. Have that little trust in yourself, like with whatever you're doing.
Welcome to Guthli Talks, presented by Miles SoBA, your backstage pass to the creative circus of branding and advertising. And today I'm joined by a man that can be literally called as a magnet when it comes to winning competitions. This guy understands scoring music better than anybody in the industry, a maestro when it comes to his work. I'm honored to be joined here with Subhajit Mukherjee. Hi, sir.
Hi.
Thank you so much for taking your time out for this. I don't want to waste any of your time. I think we'll get right into it.
Waste some. It's fine.
Waste some of your time. Awesome. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
All good, sir. All good. Sir, you have worked with some of the biggest brands in the industry, some of the biggest agencies in the industry, all by being a freelancer. Can you go deeper into this? How is the freelancing space for music in our country right now?
I mean, see, in terms of like when it comes to advertising, I mean, like all the composers are freelancers. I mean, some of them have like set up their own companies and stuff, but the format which is there in US or like the European market, like they have music agencies or music production houses.
Right.
That system doesn't work here in that way. So most of the people are, I mean, even if they have their own like companies, they are not as such like music agencies or music production houses.
Right.
I mean, so technically everybody.
Why doesn't that system work here?
Because like in India, like the creative call and a lot of things which goes while, I mean, for a film, most of the decisions are taken by the director. I mean, like 95% of the decisions are taken by the director along with the creative agency.
Okay.
But abroad, what happens most of the times, it's, I mean, if I'm not wrong, I might be wrong, but as far as I know, most of the cases, once the director is done, it's primarily the agency who takes, the, I mean, the year of doing the post and the music, the edit and everything. So it's their call.
Okay. Makes sense, sir.
So it's their responsibility.
It's their responsibility, and hence it's okay to be a freelancer in the market right now. It's
I mean, most of us are like all freelancers.
Makes sense.
Only.
To what extent do you think networking is important as a freelancer?
I mean, networking is required. I mean,
and how did you grow that network? Because you went from having rocking stages with your rock band to being in a studio, composing music, to then moving into advertising. Where do you find the network? And my follow-up question to that is, how did you also know that advertising is your calling?
Yeah, so, I mean, as you mentioned, like, so I was a part of a band in Calcutta, and I was like, we were into rock music in vernacular, which was like a very big thing out there in Calcutta during the early 2000s to, like, I mean, it's still there. So, but I think it was around 2005 or 6 that Vodafone ad, it was Hutch at that point of time. It came out, The Boy and the Dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when I heard the track, and I was like so mesmerized by the track. It was composed by Rupert Fernandez, one of the best composers. So when I heard the track, and I was like, oh, I was not very sure, like, you know, you can do these kind of music also in advertising. So then I mean, that idea of, I can also work in the advertising market. It started, but Calcutta by then was like very stagnant.
Right.
So then I tried, but nothing happened. So then overnight, just one day, me and my wife, we took a decision and we just shifted our base to Bombay.
Wow.
And then after coming to Bombay, I mean, I started working. I mean, I was assisting few guys. I was arranging for few, I mean, arranging in the sense I was producing music for few guys.
Right.
And then I met this composer called Amartya Bobo Raut. So he was like, I mean, he had done like lots and lots of commercials and very big ads.
Right.
So he actually helped me quite a lot, like to understand how the market works and to understand what is required to score for an advertising film. And then he actually recommended me, like when he thought that I'm ready to a certain extent, it was like very nice of him, and I'm always like, indebted to him for that. So he recommended me to a lot of his director friends and
Makes sense.
yeah.
Makes sense. So that is sort of, we call the early period of a creative Guthli days. So that I believe is sort of your Guthli days, how you started out.
Yeah.
You also mentioned that there are lessons that you learned during your Guthli period. If you can summarize these lessons into 5 key points, what would that be?
I mean, let's not talk about, I mean, let just people, like everybody, they have their own learning curve. I mean, so what I have learned, it might be different from
Definitely.
like 5 other people. So, I mean, so there's no point of giving gyan on that, like keep these things in mind.
Right.
Just like do what you feel like, is correct at that point of time. Just don't be arrogant, that's all.
Makes sense. Is there any mistake that you made which you would like to recommend our viewers not to make?
No, actually just be yourself and do.
Be yourself.
Yeah,
Amazing. Amazing. So you have worked with lots of brands, lots of agencies, including Madhya Pradesh Tourism. You have worked with Coca-Cola. All of these established brands. How do you ensure that the brand's commercial need is met, while also imposing your creative freedom into it? It's sort of like a tug of war, right? So how do you find that right balance?
It depends actually from project to project, to be very honest. I mean, if you see a project which is very interesting in terms of the storytelling, in terms of the filmmaking craft, I mean, you tend to, put a little bit extra on that particular project. And definitely you need that support from your creative partners, be it the agency creatives or your director or the producer and the other people involved in the project. So, I mean, see, clients, they can come up with some very bizarre things also sometimes. But, I mean, and sometimes like creatives also can come, sometimes directors also can come. Because, I mean, see, the work which we are doing, music, I mean, especially music for advertising, it's a very technical job.
Yeah.
Okay. So within that technical job, I mean, people might say that I need this, I need that, I need that. So now you will have to realize, like, or it's your responsibility to make them understand, like, certain things are possible, certain things are not possible.
Definitely.
Okay, now you get into a tug of war in that, like, but I think at the end of the day, just, I mean, how do I say? I mean, the way I like approach a project is like, I do first what I feel is correct. I don't think about what the brand wants or what the director wants or what the film wants and what I want. I mean, that is more important for me, at least at this stage of my life. I mean, initially when I started, and I'm assuming when like everybody started, they all were a little, diplomatic in terms of, okay, let's do what the director is asking. But once you are, I mean, and it's not a bad thing to be diplomatic, because, you need to build your like clientele, you need to have a good rapport with the people, because like if I'm working with you, if you are a director and I'm working with you for the first time, I need to understand how your mind operates. And you also have to understand how my mind operates. What are like our likings and dislikings. So I think it's a good thing. So, but like have that little trust in yourself, like with whatever you're doing. That's very important. And then, I mean, see, there's going to be rounds of changes and everything. Then the client might say that, no, I think we want this, I think we want that. So we cannot gauge, like what they will want, what they will not want.
Yes.
I mean, sometimes we have tried certain things which were never done on a brand.
Right.
And we have just went ahead and presented it, and they have loved it.
Right.
And sometimes they have backfired, and they're like, no, it doesn't work for our brand.
go
We have,
revisit
yeah, there's like, fine. At least we had tried.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
Right. Makes sense, sir. Again, when a client sends you a brief, and I'm asking this question not only from a point of technicality, I'm asking this also for the viewers that are watching who are young creatives. When they are getting a brief for best use of music in Guthli Ad Fest, how do you crack that brief?
I mean, it's very difficult, because I take briefs in a very tangible way.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, if, say, for example, a client or the creative agency or the director is telling me that, okay, so for this film, for the track of this film, point A, B, C, D, E, F, these are the things you have to keep in mind while doing the track. Now, like the visual, like most of the times we work on the visual. Okay. So the visual might not want certain points. Maybe that point E is not required.
Right.
So you have to take that like intuitive decision at that point of time, like what all are needed, what all are not needed.
Yeah.
And sometimes, it can happen like fuck it, let's just do whatever I want to do at that point of time. That's the way at least I conceive a track, and I function.
Right. That intuitive decision that you mentioned about, it's very hard to gain, right? Either you gain that through hard work or it naturally comes to you. In your case, what was it? Was it hard work or did it naturally come to you?
I think it's experience.
Right. So the 11 years of experience just adds up. For a young creative, how do you gain that intuition? How do you decide ki, arey, this seems off? I think it'll be better in this case. How can the young creative have that confidence to do it?
Confidence, it will only come, like as I mentioned earlier, like say for example, I'm working with you for the first time. I might be like, okay, let me do what you want.
Right.
For the second, on the second job, if we are working together again, I might be in a better position, maybe I have gained that confidence of yours and I can say that, okay, you have shared this is your brief or this is your reference.
Right.
Can we also try this? Now you being like, okay, chalo
karte hain.
हाँ, एक करके देखते हैं.
Makes sense, sir. Makes sense. Sir, when it comes to music, one of the most important things, other than the intuition factor, is, I believe, psychology of music, right? What a consumer feels good when he's hearing. To what extent do you consider the psychological aspect? And what are some tips that you can give to our viewers in terms of the study that you've done?
See, what I have realized, one thing, and it's not only for advertising only, it's for like
in general,
like film music also.
Right.
If you see, Indians in general, we like something which is melodic.
Okay.
Okay. And a lot of other stuff are also happening. The younger generation, the younger crowd, they are appreciating other forms of like music also.
Right.
But within that also, say for example, if you're doing a very quirky track or something which is, what's the term? Very edgy, very new age or blah, 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 whatever. Yeah. Okay. If there's a sense of, melodic structure which people can hum,
right,
or at least they can recall easily, I think those things, they work in a very good way.
Okay.
For the Indian market.
Makes sense, sir. Makes sense. So the attention span of modern day consumers are reducing. When you were creating ad spots, like let's say 5 years back, 10 years back, it was a 30-second ad spot. Now, with social media on the rise, ad spot has changed to 10 seconds. How difficult is it for a music composer to adjust to this change?
I'm the wrong person to ask that. I'm not on social media.
Oh, you're not on social media?
No. The only place which I'm on is like LinkedIn.
Right, right. So wrong question to the wrong person. Whoever wrote this question, I wrote this question.
No, but keep it.
Right. But how can a person adapt to that? When you're reducing the time, attention span?
What I'm guessing is like there's no end to that. Okay.
Okay.
People after few days, I mean, after few years, they might just even expect that, you know, a hand out of the phone will come out and like give you something also.
Right.
I think the main reason with which social media was invented, that's completely lost.
Yep.
You cannot judge something creative with, you know, with the social media. I think it's a little unfair.
Right.
And I mean, yeah, definitely you can create something which are 10 seconders and 20 seconders. We had also done, I mean, even for, you know, television also, we
Yeah.
had done 10 seconder ads and 20
Right.
seconder ads. But with people's like mind frame or, you know, like concentration reducing, I mean, I think people will have to take care of that.
Makes sense, sir. Do you ever check out the insights? As in, when you're composing music, obviously there is a creative aspect to it. Later on, do you go back to the campaign to see the retention rate, to see numbers, to understand what you could have done better?
Numbers in the sense?
Numbers in the sense, let's say retention rate ho gaya. How long is the retention rate of a consumer while watching that ad?
No.
That doesn't come into factor at all.
No.
It's purely the creative end.
Yeah.
Awesome. One thing I wanted to talk to you about, because this is a campaign that I loved a lot, which is Excite campaign. It has sort of bagged every single award out there. What did you do differently for that, and how was your approach to that?
Different, what did I do is very difficult to say. But the approach was, you know, like the concept was like India moves on Excite. I mean, that was the tagline of the entire film.
Yeah.
And so I saw the film, like when I saw the film, so the creative who worked on this, Subhajit Mukherjee, who's the NCT of VML now. So he shared the animation film with me and he told me like, this is something which we have done.
Right.
What do you think? And I said that this is something very exciting.
Okay.
It's like, how can we, you know, stitch the entire film with music? So India moves on Excite, it's a very interesting term.
Right.
And India being a country, you know, of like so many languages, so
Yeah.
many cultures, and each state, each city, they have their own musical
yes.
like tastes and own music. So my idea was like, let's create a track, which will have, you know, influences of each and every city, which were, I mean, each and every state, which were definitely depicted on the film.
Yep.
And there should be a common link between that. So, I mean, yeah, it happened very fast.
Right.
And then to stitch everything, we thought of using, you know, the car honks
Yes.
as the main riff and motive,
Right.
along with so move, so means chalo. So we use that term like move, chalo, and like in different languages we use that. Some like, so we used Bengali cholo. There were some other things from other languages. So that was the entire idea, to make like, you know, like a Mile Sur Mera Tumhara, but from the Excite's point of view.
Makes sense, sir. One thing you mentioned is how India is such a diverse country with various tastes of music, with various intentions of music. When you're producing an ad which is supposed to go pan-India, how do you ensure that every single music taste is covered in it? Like, for example, the MP ad that you created, it is something that we branding and advertising students study. And if you haven't seen that, please go check it out. That's something that we study. And that is something that our ears, me being a South Indian with a different taste of music, or my friends being a Punjabi with a different taste of music, or somebody from Kashmir, all can find it very attractive. We feel like listening to it. So how do you ensure that all tastes of music is sort of covered in it when you're creating an ad?
I mean, see, it's not my, first of all, I mean, I cannot predict, you know, like everybody is going to like every track.
Right.
I mean, there are tracks which every people like, there are tracks which some people don't like. And I think that's the part of, you know, any creative output which comes out. I mean, people are going, because it's so subjective, especially something like music. Especially for projects like MP and stuff, it's very important. And since it's a tourism ad, okay, so the main idea should be to convey what the brand or that particular story is about to say.
Yeah.
Okay, we could have added other elements also, but at that point of time, given the time and the frame of mind and everything, I mean, we didn't think of so many things, you know, like
Makes sense.
what will people of the South think or the North think or the West think or the East think.
Right.
We just felt what is required for this particular piece of communication was right. We did that. And keeping in mind the flavor of Madhya Pradesh a little bit, because that was
At the end of the day, an
yeah,
MP2.
yeah, it's an MP tourism ad.
Yeah.
So the flavor of that place was more important than, you know, pleasing the
Every
other
other-
people.
makes sense, sir, makes
you cannot do that.
Yeah. So, but you also mentioned that you kept a neutral tone and neutral instruments throughout the track.
Yeah, that I did because, you know, it was so verbose. I mean, the entire track. First of all, it took us around 8 days to crack the track.
Okay.
I mean, it's the highest in my life.
Right.
Yeah. It took us 8 days to crack the track, and I think by the end of the day, maybe I got a little bit of lazy also. But it just worked. I mean,
it works because we
Yeah.
study the track, we study that ad now when we have classes just to decode these tracks and these ads. So I think 8 days is a huge payoff for us. Coming to 8 days, sir, what's the longest time? 8 days is the longest time for you. What is the average turnaround time when it comes to creating a score for an ad?
normally it's around 1 day to 2 days.
Okay. That is the max it takes for you.
But we are given that much time.
अच्छा उतना ही मिलता
Yeah,
है
उतना ही
Okay.
मिलता है.
Right, makes sense. So you are the jury member for Best Use of Music at Guthli Fest 2024. What can be an entry? What is an X factor in an entry that is going to surprise you, which you'll be like, "Arey, इसमें कुछ है." What could be that X factor?
It can be anything. It can be like, you know, an incredible melody,
Okay.
or it can be like really something which you don't expect for a particular film, but something which is like extremely opposite.
Opposite
but
to it.
it's work. I mean, it's working beautifully with the visuals. Or it can be, you know, the production or something which is so interesting that it just takes me to the track.
Makes sense, sir. Another thing that I wanted to ask you, which this comes from my personal, because I am not a musically inclined person at all. I don't even know why I'm doing this interview because I have absolutely no clue in terms of music.
Maybe you talk well.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. This entire studio setup is not something that every young creative out there has, right? So what are some...
This is not my studio also. This
I mean,
is
I'm pretty
Tonic,
sure
the
you
Sound
have-
Factory. This
yes.
is Darshan Nair and Sonia Nair's studio.
Right.
I mean, we are happy like they have allowed
They've
us
allowed us
to
to
shoot
shoot here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tonic, the Sound Factory, for this. But I'm pretty sure you have a similar, maybe even bigger studio.
No. I have like a workspace. I have
Right.
a workspace.
So how can a young creative, what are some tools that a young creative can use to come up with tracks that they can use for the submission?
I mean, you need a digital audio workstation, like it's a software where you can, you know, program and compose. Like there's Cubase, there's Logic, there's Reaper, there's so many things. There's Ableton Live.
Right.
You need some sounds. I mean, the VST plugins and all those things,
Right.
and you need a keyboard.
Awesome.
And the most important thing, you need a brain.
Right. Sir, is there any AI tools that can be used for something similar? And do you use AI tools for composing?
I still haven't used. I mean, let us human beings
Work
let
for a
us
bit.
work. Yeah.
Right. Awesome. So there is no AI tools that you can recommend of at the moment?
Yeah,
because-
no, I'm not much into AI till now.
Right. But do you think you'll get into AI soon?
I mean, I don't know, you know, like I'll have to see, like if I'm on purpose, if by using AI, I'm, you know, consciously or unconsciously, I'm, you know, stealing away somebody else's bread and butter, I would
Rather prefer not to.
rather prefer not to do it.
Makes sense.
Like, well, I mean, now people can ask me questions like, but you are using drums,
Yeah.
like drum plugins, you are using this.
I was going to ask you that question.
Yeah, but you know, like, I mean, yeah, same. So people can ask me, like, I'm using drum plugins or, you know, piano plugins and like string plugins and all those things. Like, we don't get that much budget to call all the musicians on
Makes
every
sense.
job and stuff, but at least all of us, we try to call like musicians to the studio because it's a process. It's a creative thing which which happens. It's a collaborative process.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but AI, I'm not very sure. Like, if I have the chance, I mean, to call a lyricist, I mean, I would call a lyricist.
Yep.
And
Compose music.
yeah, and compose music.
Right. Sir, when we approached you to become a jury member for Best Use of Music at Guthli Talks 2024, what was that thing that sold you on the idea, and what is that vision that aligned with you?
Now, I was quite impressed by the thing, like something for the students or the youngsters, so which doesn't happen in our country.
Right.
So I was quite impressed with that idea. Like, it's a platform where, like if we can encourage like few people for the future, so why not?
Amazing, sir. Do you think an art fest like this would it'll make the process of hiring a lot more easier for young creatives?
That I don't know. I cannot.
It's too early to say.
I mean, it's too early, and I don't know how the corporate world it functions.
Right.
I mean,
Thank you so much, sir, for this insightful
my
session. Pleasure is mine, sir. It was such an insightful
I'm looking
session.
forward for Guthli.
Amazing. So see you, sir will also be there on October 19th and 20th. See you all there.
Yeah, please do send your entries.
Yes. Before we sign off, if you weren't aware already, Guthli Adfest 2024, India's first advertising fest solely dedicated to students, is coming your way on 19th and 20th October. This is your chance to unleash your creativity, make your mark, and start young in the world of advertising. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Register now through the link in the description and be part of a fest that's all about nurturing the next generation of creative geniuses. If you enjoyed today's chat, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode with a fellow creative. Stay tuned for more insights, more inspiration, and more behind the scenes magic in the world of branding and advertising. And always remember, every journey starts with a good lead.